Welcome back, Squatters. It's the end of the year. That's right. Tonight, live in the studio. That's right, Quasi. Decoded. We're going to get deep and dangerous into the mind of what is Mr. Dean Cooper, along with a little bit of update on some Bigfoot stuff and what's going to be coming up next year. So I want y'all to sit back, relax, have a good time. Ready to ask some crazy ass questions, because that's what it's about tonight.
There's a funny bad man in a silly red suit stuck in the smoke hole of our teepee.
Hello, Mr. Dean Cooper. How are you, sir?
I'm doing reasonably well. I think I need to scoot over, though.
Scoot over, just we're kind of split down the middle of the screen for them anyhow, side by side. So that's right, it is the holiday.
I'm checking for the split down my middle.
Oh yeah, hey, what the Chris Griffin says, I'm afraid she'll think I'm two people sewn up the middle, because that's what I think I am. Whatever, dude. Yeah, crazy stuff, man. Dean, you are on with us tonight. We're going to be talking about some of your craziest or more spookier of the Quasi theories. My birds are going to decide to sing me the songs of their people tonight. You know, I can already tell it's going to be a cluster screw.
Yeah, my two are in bed behind me. You can't see the cages, but if I make too much noise, they'll start squawking. Mine
are all covered up too, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. If I have to, I'll shut the light out and we'll just do this in the dark. Anyhow, yeah, man. So this thing called Expedition Bigfoot started on the TV this week. Some dude named RPG, Russell Accord, some very strange looking woman, and another dude that I've never heard of in Bigfooting. Apparently he has a podcast I've never heard of. I've been doing this a long time, y'all, and 2 out of the 3 of those dudes, I have no idea who the hell they are. But it started on the Travel Channel this week. 8-part series on a new idea of searching the Oregon vast lands for Sasquatch. Now, Dean, what were your first impressions of the expedition?
I think it's a beautiful setup. I mean, they did the LiDAR scan using lasers to scan the whole terrain, and they saw game trails that would not be visible to the naked eye.
Yeah,
so it's really nicely set up. They've got all the proper equipment. I think I dislike the format of those shows these days, because after a commercial, they repeat half of the previous segment.
Exactly.
The narrator throws in, what is this going to be? What is that going to be? What are they going to do next? And it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, but you know that they gotta fill their 44 minutes worth of content somehow. You know, they actually only have like 21 minutes worth of content, and they throw another 7.5 minutes of recap content into it throughout all the commercials, so that they really only have to make a 30-minute TV to sell it to as somebody as an hour-long TV show, because that's what it's all about. It's not about making a great show about Bigfoot. It's about selling that show to a TV station, because the way it really works is these production companies don't know when they make these things whether they're even going to be able to sell it or not.
Yeah.
They get a budget and they try and put something together, and I've been approached on several of these things, and I've told them all that they can't afford me. I can't afford to go into the woods for $400 a week. I can't afford to do that. Yeah. And that's basically what you end up doing. In the end of it, they want to pay you something like $1,100, you know, for 8 weeks of your life of filming TV for them. And, but we'll feed you and let you sit in the rain and, you know, let you be cold. I got better things to do with my time. But these people did it. And I give them kudos for that, because they really did go out there for the time that they said that they did. This wasn't one of those Bear Grylls things where, you know, he's hanging out at the hotel and then getting up right before dawn and going back outside to, act like he slept out there.
This is why the gods gave us DVRs and a jump button.
I totally agree. This is the way we can just, look, now they have smart fast forward, which is fantastic on some of these DVRs, to where they just zoom right past the commercial in the first like 10 seconds of recap, and then put you right back into the new content. So they have a specific area. I want to say they said it was 150 square miles. So what is that? Is that 25 miles by 25 miles? Is that how that comes out? I think so.
It's about like that. It was like
so it's basically a large male black bear's home territory.
Yeah,
that they've got plotted out. And they use the LiDAR set up on a drone, which, oh God, I would love for somebody to do that for me in my areas that I am studying, because the way it highlighted all of the game trails to where they all converged in one place. I mean, it was just like, I want to go set some cameras up on that place. And I want to set them way up on the hill. I don't want to go out there and shoot. See, that's the thing. That's the mistake that they made again here, is they strap those cameras right along the game trail as if they're going to get the glory shot in the first time. And it's like, you don't even know if animals walk past that tree yet. Take that camera, put it on plot watch, and put it 100 yards away from that trail and see what comes up and down that trail first. You get a picture of a Bigfoot from a long way off, you've got a lot better chance of getting a picture of a Bigfoot up close, because you'll know where to put the camera. But if you put it up close and they can hear them, then you're just chasing them away.
And that is a highly qualified primatologist, and she's done field research a lot. I'm sure that the budget they must have had for the trail cams, they probably got them stuck in a lot of places.
Well, yeah, and they've got, $350 game cams, instead of $30 game cams. But people complain, well, you're using them cheap game cams. You're never going to get anything on them cheap game cams because the animals can hear them. Like, they can't hear them from 60 yards away.
No, and
if I got them on a plot watch where they're taking a picture every 20 seconds, just continuously taking a picture through the day for every 20 seconds. No one's going to hear that from 60 yards away. And if Bigfoot goes walking down that path, guess what? I got a picture of Bigfoot walking down that path. Get something far away, and then you know where to put it. At least get some tracks or something. But anyhow, I digress.
But the Squatches have got that woo power where they can tell there's a camera.
God. Woo. And they already started to go woo on me in this series, but we'll get there in just a moment.
Yeah.
So they get to base camp, and base camp is on the edge of their territory, which I think is smart. Yeah. Because then they don't have cars and stuff, intruding far into their territory, chasing the animals off. That's why I tell everybody, it's like, if you drive into your spot 8 miles off grid into your favorite spot out there, you have announced yourself to high heaven. You stink to high gas and oil and rubber and plastic and synthetics and stuff that animals ain't probably never smelled in their lives before. You are just like, takes 24 hours for that stuff to go away. For that to really just kind of unsaturate where you're doing, and everything else you do. Every time you pee outside, you are announcing, predator primate, here I am.
And all those new tents, they're going to be out gassing for months.
Oh, they're going to smell like whatever the waterproofing is.
Yeah.
But so again, we have those things where they want to do a good job, but let's go get brand new equipment. Whatever. I personally like to see somebody go out there and kind of do it Les Stroud style, man. Let's build some natural structures, and let's do it that way. Let's build some lean-tos, and let's do it some primitive ways so that we're not making such an ugly human footprint on everything. But so they put the game cams out, and it seemed like no more than half into the show that all of a sudden RPG's got a headache. Oh, and his description of the headache, it comes and goes, and it comes and it goes, and it comes.
Migraines coming on.
Right. And they were also at altitude. And they'd also gone up more than 4,000 feet in one day.
Yeah.
And that brings on altitude sixes and people who are affected by altitude six. I'm one of them people. I like to visit 7, 8, 9, 10,000 feet for the day and then get the hell out of there at night. Put me down 4,000 feet. I'm happy. 4,000 feet below, I'm just fine. I can sleep. I feel good. I don't, have a headache. I don't feel like I got the flu. You let me around 7,200 feet for the first 3 days, I feel like crap. It's like it's awful. And then after about 3 days, I'm starting to feel good, but then it's time to go home. So it's like, but then they start in with the, some Sasquatch have been reported to have the ability of somehow affecting people's minds or bodies, or zap power. Here comes the woo.
Well, we've talked about this before. I think it is biologically possible for them to be able to produce infrasound at around 18,000 hertz, which is the fear-inducing beyond, what do they call it?
The brown note. 18 hertz, not 18,000 hertz. 18,000 hertz.
18 hertz, yeah.
18 hertz. But even at that, now let's stop for a moment, and let's just imagine that they can do that. That's fine. Okay, we'll just imagine it for a moment. I watched the Mythbusters with the brown note try to make Jamie crap himself. Okay, and they literally had tens of thousands of watts of power coming out of those speakers trying to make him crap himself, and they couldn't do it. So how powerful would a Sasquatch's infrasound actually have to be before it could affect anybody? And how close would they have to be to do it? They'd have to be like, he'd have to be sitting like Kumbaya Indian style behind homeboy's tent. I mean,
when I've been exposed to that level of infrasound, it just pisses me off.
Well, that's the thing.
It pisses me off. Yeah. So what the hell?
I've been around elephants, and to tell you the truth, I don't really like elephants. Elephants, I don't know. Elephants make me feel uneasy. Maybe that's why.
That could be. Yeah, could be.
I don't know. Elephants kind of me. I like elephants. They're cool on TV, but I don't really want to hang out with them. They're not my favorite thing at the zoo. I feel really bad for them. Anyhow,
so now all of a sudden, I've been around. What they do is they sniff my crotch.
And this now, this has been going on with this poor fella now in the tent, obviously for hours. So is Sasquatch like walking around the camp and only doing it to RPG? Because it's what they're in. It's the inference of what's going on in the show that's bothersome about that. They're the ones kind of like, well, could be Sasquatch doing this to him. I don't know.
They've got enough bucks involved with the show that they could have mics to see if there's infrasound. If they aren't doing that, then they don't care.
But so they take him away. They get the medics to come up there, and now their actor, producer, guy who put the whole show together is out. Like he ain't coming back. Like out. Like not just this episode. Like he ain't coming for the rest of the expedition. RPG is now out. So if he was supposed to be the draw to it, I guess he was the Steven Seagal of executive decision. No one really told us that it was a Mr. Goldie Hawn movie until after Steven Seagal was dead in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden RPG. That's all I heard about on hell is RPG. Now he's gone. So we've got Russell, this very, very strange looking woman. I don't know how to describe it. She's almost disturbing to look at. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying
she's had way too much face work.
She looks like that lady that's trying to do
one had lip injections. Doesn't look like
I don't know. It's just odd. It's almost looking like a burn victim. I mean, it is tough to look at, and I just anyhow. Yeah, poor Russell, because he just got thrown into it. He's the only dude that I know, and the only reason I know him is because like he's Bob Gimlin's handler. I mean, I know he goes out a few times a year and does some squatching stuff. I'm sure he's got woodsman abilities. I have no doubt that he's capable in what he's doing. Hell, he's willing to go off with some asshole friggin' cameraman in the middle of the woods for no reason at all to set up camp with this guy. So, and I'm sure the cameraman's not exactly.
I'm watch the whole series, but I think they've hinted at the only stuff they actually found, except maybe footprints show up later, was with the thermal image they already showed, which looks interesting. And then
but you can't say that thermal image is an upright walking gorilla. It looks like it got lost somewhere.
That's why I just said it looks interesting.
It's a blob.
It's interesting. That's all I'll say is interesting.
It's so much of a blob that you can't even say that it's not a person. There's no definition in it whatsoever. Oh, I can see some arm swing. No, you can't. No, you can see exactly what we can see. Crap. Anyhow, I wish it was better. I want them all to be great. I want them all to have some real Sasquatch, evidence. But evidence reveals scientific discovery does not wait for evidence reveals on TV shows.
Yeah.
So if there was any real scientific discovery that comes up on any of these shows, the producers of the shows are going to be more interested in the media money that's going to come from the discovery of, look what we found while we were filming this show, versus the, oh no, we're going to keep this quiet until we put the show on TV.
I got to make a quick comment about the chat room there. Expedition Bigfoot.
Expedition Bigfoot.
Yeah. Travel Channel.
Correct. That is the name of it for sure. It's their long face and that mouth. Yeah, man. It's like she got punched in the lips or stung by a bee or something in both lips. I don't know.
She has a prognathous jaw.
I mean, yeah. And let's talk about for a moment, the difference between researcher and investigator. Now
she's a researcher.
She says that she's a researcher, but does she spend?
I looked her up.
Does she spend months in the field with them?
She found the new species of lemur in Madagascar. I think it was earlier this year, maybe. So very
cool.
She's real.
That's unusual for them to have somebody that's actually not just somebody claiming to be Superman, but actually Superman.
Yeah, no, she's real.
Well, that's very cool. Well, then maybe that's why they didn't care about her interesting look.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta figure out that they don't usually do that, but yeah. Anyhow, that's kind of kooky. I really didn't see too much else on. This guy. Yeah, I gotta bring it up. This fella, the How to Hunt fella. Have you seen his videos?
No.
Yeah, a lot of people are passing around this fella. He's got a lot of subscribers, 40,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, maybe more than that. I don't know. But all of a sudden now he's on telling Bigfoot stories kick. He's on a you people should be ashamed of yourself kick. And he's giving all the woo people opportunity to say, well, this is real. You guys have to believe all of this. Just because it's outlandish, it's all outlandish. It's like, well, there's telling a story about seeing a goat on its back legs, and then there's a story about seeing a human with a devil's, goat head. There's a difference between the two of those things. And that's, there's a difference between large hairy primate that's probably always been here living in our woods amongst us, a paranthropus, beside us. Then there's the large hairy anthropoid things that come through the Stargate and turn into tree people and heal you by rubbing your crotch. So obviously
that would heal a lot of things on me.
Well, you might want to get up with Zorth. The prophet of Zorth can probably get you a personal appointment for some cash. I hear he's still in the limelight. I hear the prophet of Zorth is still out there, and we're going to talk about that crap next year, people. Whoo! Next season is on. Can't wait. That's right. The season to bring it on. Come at me, bro. Anyhow, we are here to talk about the Quasi man himself. We've already rambled on for 20 minutes. Look at that, Dean. Isn't it fantastic? Put the two of us together and we
didn't leave any spaces for commercial breaks either.
No, we sure didn't.
That's why we're not on TV.
So I don't belong on TV, that's for sure. All right, let's kick it over here. The first one that we're going to talk about tonight is the Atlantean Black Magician drops in. So why don't we take a listen to that monster, and we'll you guys listen to this, post some questions up in the chat room about it, and we will discuss it directly after. Enjoy the Atlantean Black Magician.
This is a true story. Back in college, I moved off campus to a 2-bedroom apartment in an old 3-flat building. My roommate, Kim, was 2 years older than me. It was a platonic relationship. She and my girlfriend were good friends. I add at this point that my roommate was definitely psychic, and I am fairly sensitive to that whole realm as well. Shortly after moving in, Kim began complaining about visits late at night by an evil presence. I would be asleep when the visitor showed up and didn't notice anything. It started showing up while I was awake, and I definitely could tell it was at her end of the apartment. Creepy, evil feeling, chills up and down the spine, you know, the usual spooky sensations. A few weeks after this started, Kim told me what she knew about this presence. It was, of course, a black magician she and I had studied under way back in old Atlantis, coming to torment us now in his astral body. He was getting even with us for turning from the dark path to white good magic and fighting him and his evil ways. I maintained a neutral attitude to this news, but I knew something nasty was afoot. A month into these shenanigans, Kim came knocking at my bedroom door around 2 a.m, wrapped in her blanket, begging to sleep on the floor next to my bed. She said the guy was somewhat afraid of me because, back on Atlantis, I had become a stronger white magician than he was a black magician. I said she could sleep on the floor and use my spare blanket too. Half an hour later, the booger showed up at the other end of my bedroom. I could see a black glowing cloud, maybe 3 feet across, hovering about 5 feet off the floor. Yes, glowing black, with dull, dark red tinges, radiating a nasty, evil feeling. Kim was sitting on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees with a horrified look on her face. I sat up in bed, crossed my legs in a yoga posture called Siddhasana, and began mentally repeating a Sanskrit mantra I knew, directing my attention at the cloud. I could feel it getting more pissed off, but knew it was not capable of actually hurting anyone other than scaring the bejesus out of you. It faded away quickly. It made one more minor appearance when my girlfriend came for a weekend visit. She saw it and felt it, but it was much less strong and was gone in a few seconds. I used the same treatment on it as before. You may read the text of this on my blog at bhaidin.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Remind me not to sleep at the base of your floor. Wow, that's some straight up squirky stuff, man.
I gotta answer can squats real quick.
Oh.
Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namo, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namo. There you go.
Now you can just record that and play it back over and over and over on a loop, and it'll take you into, Never Neverland, where you too can fly around with the black magician from Atlantia. I mean, God, how much does it suck to be reincarnated 30 seconds after you killed yourself to get away from the world? You're just like, I'm done. I'm done. Shit. I'm not done. I'm back.
Now you might have to do some time as a maggot and then a fly eating carcasses or something, and a while before you work back to being human.
Well, people say now people might attack you on a personal basis, going, Dean, you don't really believe that there was a black mass at the end of your bed. You were somehow able to Sanskrit mantra this thing away, do you?
Well, Steve, no, I don't speak Sanskrit. I know a smattering of Sanskrit words. I've been at it all my life. Anyways, there you
didn't hear my question. You were concentrating on that question. My point being is, you see this dark mass at the end of your bed, and you say a mantra to make it go away, and people call you crazy because you may have actually done that. But then I look at you and go, well, what do Christians do when they say the demons are hanging over their children? They grab a cross and say a mantra over and over and over again to make the black demon go away. So how is one any different than the other? It's not. It's a bunch of magical mumbo jumbo trying to make weird mystical things go the hell away. Some work, some don't.
I don't believe because I saw it. I knew it. There's the bugger. I don't think it was any Atlantean magician or anything. I think a lot of stuff that are called hauntings and people's ghosts. There's you'd have to read some of my metaphysical stuff, or watch my YouTube channel where I made a list of metaphysical things. But there's a whole range of beings, energy beings. Most of them can take whatever the hell shape they want. The ones that go buggering people are not very bright. They're just not that bright. But they get territorial about spaces, and then you just make them go away.
Hey, where's your stupid cousin Bruce? Ah, man, he's out hunting tonight. Damn it, Bruce, you moron. Oh my goodness, so the craziness begins there. We can't even see her, to be honest with you, with the way I have the screen cut. She
walked past.
Hopefully she has her pants on tonight.
Yeah, I think she's got her pants on.
Okay. Well then, all right. So let's move along here to let's see here. We're gonna do. Oh, let's give some shout outs. Let's see who is hanging out here in the hangout tonight. Mr. Shane Barber, there he is. He's hanging out tonight with us. Aaron Duncan shares the shows every single week. I thank you, sir. I want to go gold mining with that dude like soon. I'm buying into the GPAA, man. We're going to have claims all over the place. Maria, hello there, Miss Bella. How are you? Mr. Fang, yeah. Stephen Christensen, there you go. I am so glad you are back with us as well. Jenny Ulmer, hello there, young lady, or medium lady, or madam, whichever it may be. Don't really know. Natalie Smith's in the house. Hope you're feeling better. Glad you're with us. There's Can Squanch saying hello, hi, how are you? There's the Reverend Matthew Gaines, Reverend. You know, I still, I still get questions about that on my channel in the comment section. Like, what are you a reverend of? I'm like, well, I'm a legally ordained minister in the Universal Life Church. The same thing as millions of other people. I am legally allowed to conduct ministry services. That's what an ordained minister does. Crafty by nature. I was thinking of naughty by nature, but crafty by nature, that'll do as well. All right, we're moving on down the line. There's Tim McCune's in the house with us. Hello there, Tim. Glad you are with us as well. Hey, Dean Cooper said something. I don't know if he's allowed to talk in there. See, he's got a hammer swinging around. There's Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. Hello, Mr. Rod Dupree. And moving on up, Kenneth the Viking. There he is. Hello there, Mr. Sir. Glad you are with us as well. And we're scrolling on. We're getting down towards the bottom. If you hadn't said hi to us, we don't know you're there. There's Kit. Hello there. Get that all over my microphone almost every single week. All right, we are down there. Mr. Fang, hello, sir. And again, because, you caught my attention. And there's the brown dwarf. He finally got to check in as well. I don't know why Don's in the room twice, but we'll take the extra view. Thank you, sir. We always need it. Speaking of which, I've been paying attention to the YouTube terms and services, their new rules, and their algorithms are changing. And they put out a couple of weeks ago that their policies were changing, that any channel that wasn't monetizable or able to be made money on was going to be discontinued and deleted by YouTube. Now, I don't believe that they're going to take like my channel down per se. But if they do, go to facebook.com/groups/SLounge and we'll figure out how to do a live show from Facebook. Because I don't make any money on YouTube.
I saw a correction to that. They're claiming they're not going to take everybody down.
Well, they can't, and that was the whole thing. Was all the non-monetizable channels were non-monetizable because you won't let us monetize, you bunch of douche canoes. Yeah. So you can't not let us monetize and then tell us you're going to delete us because we're not monetizable because you won't let us monetize.
Yeah, when they took away my monetization, they owed me a hundredth of a cent.
Right, 1/100th of a cent. You had to get to $100 before they actually would pay you anything. My channel actually got freed up from their algorithm. It was being held hostage by a copyright algorithm that said that I was uploading other people's content, even though it was my voice over a fire. I don't know how that could be anybody else's content, but even after them making $212,000 on my content, I didn't have a phone number, an email address, a chat box, a form I could fill out and actually get in contact with anybody. After years of having 10,000 plus more subscribers, all of that doesn't matter. They don't care. Whatever. So if they take my channel down and that happens, like I said, find us on Facebook and we'll be doing live shows from there. Because to tell you the truth, I really don't need YouTube other than I have a big following here. And that's why I continue to do live videos here. If I had the kind of following on Facebook that I had here on YouTube, I'd probably dump YouTube altogether and just put my videos up on Facebook and just not have to worry about all this he said, she said, bunch of crud that YouTube has going on. But there are a lot of channels out there that are getting attacked specifically. We were one. We used to have a high recommendation. 70% of our views used to come from recommended views from YouTube. Now 8%. I get 8% of recommended views from the YouTube simply because I'm not monetized anymore and they can't make money on me. And that in itself is disgusting. So anyhow,
you know what I say about algorithms? Al Gore's got no rhythm.
Yeah, no rhythm. And he certainly didn't invent the internet. And his claim of climate change certainly did not come true. 2012 came and went. All right. So back to Bigfoot. We're up to the next one of our Quasies. This is a two-parter, sir.
Yep.
There we go. And it is called The Junk Room. So let's take a listen to part 1 and part 2. It's about a 5-minute. Enjoy.
The Junk Room. Back in the mid-1960s, my family lived in a house that we knew was haunted. It was an old farmhouse in the middle of town, built sometime before 1900. There were 2 floors, a basement, and an attic. There were 5 of us siblings. 3 of us slept in first-floor rooms. The second floor had 2 bedrooms, one large, where one of my brothers and I slept, and a very small one, which we called the junk room. There were 5 of us siblings, and we never threw out any toys. They were kept in the junk room. When indoors, we frequently played in the large bedroom. We occasionally heard footsteps in the attic at night, pacing from one end of the house to the other. We would then rapidly adjourn down the stairs to the living room, where our parents would declare us to be, and I quote, nuts. This happened a number of times. We lost count of the total. One day we were ordered to clean up the junk room and sort all the toys into new cardboard boxes. I say new boxes, but they were obtained from the alley behind the Main Street stores. The cleanup was accomplished rapidly, which was understandable if you knew our mother. The room was very tidy. Our mother was pleased. Here's a side note on the junk room. It was always cooler than the rest of the house, except for the basement. We could not go into the junk room at night alone. The closet was terrifying. Its door would not stay closed, but would never swing open while anybody was in the room. The junk room door had a separate lock on the outside of the door. It appeared to be original to the house. We kids kept that door locked when we were not in the room. We often wondered why that door needed a lock on the outside. One night, a few days after cleaning the room up, my older brother and my sister were playing Sorry in the large bedroom. They suddenly came screaming down the stairs in the living room, claiming that somebody was in the junk room, apparently trashing the room. My dad grabbed a baseball bat and went up the stairs with the rest of the family a reasonable distance behind. The junk room door was still locked. He opened it, turned the light on, and declared that, and I quote, "You two kids are full of shit. There's no one in here and the windows are closed and locked." He continued, "Weren't you kids supposed to clean this place up? We got you new boxes." The room was trashed. Toys were everywhere but not broken. The boxes were empty and half ruined. The closet door was ominously open. Our mother did not say a word in our defense. She said she did not believe in ghosts. A good 20 years later, she admitted that she thought the house was haunted too. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
All right. Let's kick it directly into the second part, and we'll discuss right after. Get your questions ready. Post them up in the chat room.
Last week, I told you about the real haunted house my family lived in for a few years and the small second-floor bedroom that my siblings and I kept our hoard of toys in. We called that room the junk room because that's what it usually looked like. I also mentioned the larger bedroom on the second floor where my next younger brother and I slept. My bed was at the end of the bedroom away from the door. My brother's was, obviously, next to the door. The junk room was down a short hallway to the right, maybe 15 feet away from our bedroom door. The stairs down to the first floor were immediately to the left of our door. The stairs to the basement were under that staircase. The basement door had a hook and loop lock that we always used at night because the basement door to the outside was a classic old farmhouse-style slanted cellar door that could be easily broken into. Our dad worked nights and my mom feared burglars. One night around 2 a.m, I was woken by the sound of the junk room door opening, which, as I said last week, we kids kept locked from the outside. I heard the sound of a large dog, German Shepherd size or larger, walk from the junk room into the bedroom, its toes tapping heavily as it walked. We had no such pet dog. We had a toy Manchester Terrier, which is a Chihuahua-sized little black dog. This big dog, toes a tapping, went straight to my brother's bed and sniffed at him loudly. He did not wake up. I then heard it circling tightly for a few seconds and lie down. I was petrified. Not the least because there was a large oval rug right where it somehow tapped its toes before laying down. It lay there for about 20 minutes, then got up and went down the stairs, toes still tapping away. It went down the basement stairs. The stairs to the second floor were fully carpeted, yet those toes tapped. It went down the basement stairs, though the basement door was locked. A few minutes later, I cautiously got out of bed and looked at the junk room door. It was closed and locked. I carefully went down the stairs, woke my mother to see if she'd heard anything like a big dog walking around. She had heard nothing, and a little dog was sleeping at her feet under the blankets. She said I was nuts and went back to sleep. I went to the basement door, unlocked it, turned the lights on, looked down the stairs, saw no dog. Turned the lights off, closed the door, and locked it. No way in hell was I going down those stairs and check for stray ghostly doggies. If you missed last week's Squatchers Lounge podcast, go watch it to hear the first part of this story. Or you can read the text of last week's story, as well as the texts of all my quasi-scientist blatherings at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Yeah, haunted by the doggy. I'm terrified. I'm terrified. like I'm terrified. Like seriously, man. I don't want to be messing with that. That's crazy talk. A couple of latecomers to the show there. Dadgummit. Josu Salazar.
Probably Josue, I would think.
I don't know. I wish they would phonetically spell it in there for me one of these days and I'd actually get it right. Derek Redden's in the house with us as well. And I think I saw Jeremy Crotio. Yeah, hello there. Hey, it's like that's about it. Dave Jackson's in the house as well. It's about as French as Gerard Depardieu. You know, I mean, you can't get much more French than Crotio. Anyhow, thanks for joining us, guys. Yeah, dude, that would be creepy. I lived in a haunted house. I mean, I think I lived in a haunted house. I was a little kid. I was like before 3rd grade, so I don't have a whole lot of memories about it. But, you know, I lived in the room that had the attic door and something like to shake that attic door. Not like the wind, not like a little bit. Like, you know, like trying to open that sucker, but we had a latch on it and it was double latched. There was a latch at the bottom and a latch at the top. And I was like you, I was like, why is that door need 2 latches? That's weird. Now, on the other side of the house was my uncle's house because it was Not a duplex. It was a double house. It was like 2 houses joined in the middle with one common wall, and my mom and her brother owned it.
Shotgun style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but he didn't have any access to our attic, and we didn't have any access to his attic, and they were finished attics, like they were rooms.
Mhm.
So it wasn't all drafty and shit up there. There was no reason for this attic door to like somebody was trying to open the damn door, and I just, I ain't like that. I ain't like that at all. I could imagine hearing like the dog nails on carpet. That's why you're not supposed to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not supposed to hear that at all. I don't know. No, that's not good. Well, oh man, we are getting down to it. Let's get our camping tips for stupids for the week in here, and then we'll get into our third one for the night. I have to turn that off there and turn it back on so that I can grab that. And here we go. Our camping tips for stupids for the week.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 55. Winter time is the best time for any and all excuse cooking on the campfire. Throw away the propane camp stove and trash, because it's time for man's wood cooking with fire. Real fire. Hot fire. Using fire. Because America. Cooking in the winter time on a campfire is great for 2 things. Warmth, food, and just because.
That's 3 things.
You ever tried eating frozen food without a sledgehammer? Then get yourself a campfire. God made food to be cooked outdoors. That's why it smells and tastes so much better, and attracts all the wildlife, so you can make more food. Now, a lot of major campgrounds will provide a fire pit with the usual oversized fire ring and thick bar grill. Just flip that solid monster over and build a fire under it, and cook your brains out. The more unusual ways are using a Dutch oven. You roast whole chickens in those sons of bitches, and great for stews, or boiling dirty laundry during the apocalypse. Tripods are also a neat way of cooking over an open fire. There are even grills for them for you Texan steak lovers out there. Or go the classic whole boar on a spit way for you cannibal bastards out there. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
There you have it, folks. Spay and neuter your idiot populations. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're back at it with Mr. Dean Cooper. All right, sir.
I just noticed something.
Yeah.
I should have changed my shirt.
You got bird poop on it?
There's a bird poop.
Yeah, got bird poop. Hey, we're bird people.
When you got a parody bird on your shoulder for half the day, you get bird poops.
All my neighbors.
My
neighbors ask me, my friends ask me, why don't you walk around with your parrot on your shoulder? It's like, oh, do you like hot pudding down your back?
Yeah, but you got a
I don't know. I don't like hot pudding down my back. No.
No, those macaw poops are, yeah.
Yeah, ooh. Yeah, definitely ooh. I'd walk around with them on my shoulder if I had a African gray, which is what I actually wanted. I just wanted a parrot that could talk. I didn't need a dinosaur. Holy God, is that thing huge? He's 3 feet long, man. He's a toddler. He's like a second grader, man. He's huge. Yeah. Hey, there's Lance Windsor. Finally got into the house with us tonight. All right, Dean, let's get this thing wrapped up because we've got one
long here. Yeah.
Yeah, one more tonight. We've got the occurrence at Munger Road. Yes, we do. I have to get this other thing.
I took that off of occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, actually.
At Owl Creek Bridge? And not at Crybaby Bridge?
No.
All right, well, let's give her a listen.
An occurrence on Munger Road. Munger Road, somewhat famous as being haunted, is in northern Illinois, about 30 miles west of Lake Michigan. There is even a movie titled Munger Road that is based very loosely on some of the scary stories about the road that are still told around the area. My family has its own stories about it that we actually experienced, and they occurred before anybody else thought the road was haunted. I shall proceed to recount one of them. Back around 35 to 40 years ago, back when the area west of Chicago was mainly small towns surrounded by farmers' fields, my brother Daryl and I, and no, I don't have another brother Daryl, so let's keep the Newhart show out of this, would go to Munger Road just to feel how creepy it was. Sometimes we'd go at night, sometimes during the day. It could be pretty creepy anytime. One day, I can't remember if it was in the early spring or the late fall, other than that the farmer's field on the east side of the road was brown stubble and the grass in the forest reserve on the west side was not greening up yet. We parked on the side of the road and walked around a bit. Daryl wandered up a low hill into the farmer's field while I examined the water in the roadside ditch. I always looked in any body of water I am near for frogs, bugs, water snakes, or anything biologically interesting. Daryl suddenly yelled something like, "Oh God, they're killing them," or words to that effect. I stopped ditch delving and ran across the road and up the hill. He was on his knees crying and mumbling about the burning teepees, the dead women, children, and braves he could see. He said he could smell the smoke from the campfires. I saw nothing, I smelled nothing, but I heard sounds coming from the west side of the road. I went back over there and clearly heard musket fire and men yelling in French, but just kind of faintly, more like the tail end of echoes. There is no record of anything of the sort ever happening there. Munger Road is in DuPage County, which is named after the French trapper DuPage, who had a station on the DuPage River, oddly enough. French voyagers followed the rivers all over Illinois, but Munger Road is a couple of miles from the nearest rivers, so the Frenchies were unlikely to be there. Illinois is the Frenchified version of the name of the Illiniwek, or Illini Tribal Confederation, but much of northeastern Illinois belonged to the Potawatomi tribe, who are not in the Illini Confederation. The Potawatomi did not use teepees. They built dome-shaped wigwams and rectangular lodges with bark covering called longhouses, so no teepees were there to be burnt. No teepees, no Frenchmen, therefore no massacre and no ghosts. In my experience and intellectual inclinations, there are non-physical entities, not terribly smart entities, that like to play tricks on humans. I brought them up in previous Quasi theories. They are the good folk, the seed of the Celts, the fairies. They pick up thoughts and ideas from your head and use them to play with you. My siblings and I were just getting into all things Native American back then. The local fairies grabbed that and ran over us with it. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
What in the hell, Dean? Seriously, like, what in the hell?
Stuff happens. My family has attracted that sort of stuff all along. I remember when I was like maybe 5 years old, the house we lived in, I'd be out in the yard playing and I'd feel like I was being watched. And I'd look around and sticking a little head, kind of brownish gray, maybe 3 feet tall, about my height. They'd be a little transparent head sticking around. I'd go run over to look for them, and they'd disappear around the side of the house. It was probably fairies.
Fairies. Yeah. Pixies. I told you. I got an uncle in Ireland who'll take you pixie hunting.
Well,
anytime. No problem. You don't have to pay him. You have to pay his bar tab.
Well, you know what the word pixie comes from? It's the Irish word she, S-I-D-H, but it's pronounced she. And they were the ghosts of the Picts that were killed off. So they call them Pict she. So that's where pixie comes from.
Aha. Well, they must be related to the no, I can't even remember what the other words I used. Anyhow. That's absolutely crazy stuff. This is your last chance to get into any questions about the Quasies tonight or Mr. Dean, because we are going to be wrapping up the show here for the evening. We'll be back next week with one more show for the season.
Yeah, they're real.
Something's out there. There's lots of weird things that go on. That's one of the things that next season is going to be bringing upon us is the difference between what some of these people are seeing out there and claiming out there in the woods as Bigfoot probably isn't Bigfoot at all. I'm not saying that they're not seeing weird shit in the woods. I'm just saying the weird shit that they're seeing in the woods that they're calling Bigfoot probably isn't Bigfoot at all. And what makes it even
pukas.
What
is another kind of fairy folk. These
right?
Guys themselves, animals take stuff out of your mind and scare you with it.
And when you press these people about why they think these half cloaked, dress wearing, headband wearing the fairy things are Bigfoot, and suggest maybe they're interdimensional beings from some other place in a wormhole, they get all butthurt because they're thinking that you're picking on them. It's like, I'm not picking on them. I'm chasing big hairy anthropoids through the friggin' woods. I'm crazy. Okay, I get crazy. I get it. But what you're trying to say is Bigfoot just doesn't have any basis in things. Like, the Greg Newkirk, that's part of that's done this whole Hellier thing now with Netflix, which is fantastic, by the way. Hellier season 1 and season 2 is on Netflix. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're the guys that do the Museum of the Paranormal and Weird and Occult, or God damn it, I can't remember the name of the actual thing, and that's horrible. Of the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult, I believe it is called. He always wants to say that Bigfoot's a ghost. Bigfoot's paranormal. Bigfoot's a ghost. It's like, well, how many ghosts do you know that leave footprints?
Yeah,
I've never seen a ghost leave footprints. And there's many ghost shows that I've watched, and I've watched, sadly, hundreds of thousands of hours probably at this point of ghost friggin' shows. They never leave any footprints. So why would a Bigfoot ghost? And what are they a ghost of? If Bigfoot's a ghost, what's it a ghost of? Gotcha. But anyhow, I digress. If you haven't seen the either season of the Hellier series, it is low budget, but it's cool, man. It really asks some seriously weird questions, and if you like weird stuff, check them out. Any last thoughts on the season, on the year, Mr. Dean?
Nope.
Well, no favorite parts of the year for you for Bigfoot?
Well,
I can't
ask me to think about that stuff. I was thinking about what I was doing on here.
Well, gee, I don't know, man. I think my favorite thing this year from Bigfoot came out of one of the Bigfoot documentary shows that they had Stacy Brown Jr. and Justin's Sierra sighting. They were together. I actually had sure I had a sighting on that. That show, the eDNA and the capabilities of the future for what eDNA is going to be able to bring us.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. Yeah.
For us to being able to find Denisovians and Neanderthals and Erectus, we actually had to find bones. We actually had to find specimens of these things, and then genome the crap out of them.
In the lounge and stuff. I was a biology, geology major. I went out and looked for fossils. Most life doesn't make fossils.
No, exactly. Now they're able to go in and sample these caves of where things should be living and tell you what was in there. And they're finding new things that they'd never seen before. It's like, oh, well, what do we call this? Yeah. Here we are 15 years later after the discovery of the Hobbit people. they how many times has their story changed alone? You know, let's get some eDNA people back into that region and start testing those caves and those places where those things were living and see how they actually ended up being these little dwarf people on this island. Not only were they dwarf people on that island, but there were dwarf elephants, there were dwarf cattle, there were all kind of small things on that island. It wasn't just little people.
Those islands, even during the Ice Age, when the ocean was like 350, 400 feet lower, they were still isolated, and they had to have gotten there in something like a boat.
Or chasing the seals along the ice edge. Chasing the food along the ice edge.
Down in the Indonesia areas. Those islands are, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe got washed away on a canoe, on a banana tree. I don't know.
You got to have a fair number of them getting washed over there during the same time.
Yeah, well, and then you'd have to have enough of them left over to speciate and change into little hobbit things, because they weren't little hobbit things when they got there.
If they're making stone tools, they can make a dugout.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a problem with them using tools and stuff. Now, I've seen a chimp, use a stick to kill another chimp and eat him. So, I'm pretty sure if a chimp can figure that out, a Neanderthal type thing can definitely knock out a boat. Anyhow, let's wrap it up here this evening, sir. I want to thank you, sir, for being here with me tonight.
I love doing it. If you want to do another one sometime, yeah,
we'll do the beginning of the year probably. I don't know, like we did last year, like the super team power up hour or something. We'll get a bunch of people together and do one of those. Let's look forward to the season type of thing. So with that, everybody, I want to thank you for being here, and may the Squatch be with you until next week. I will have another guest. I'm just not sure which one yet. Thank you, Dean. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, bye now. Love y'all.
Nobody comes here to look at me, sweetheart. Everybody loves the voice. I definitely have a face for radio. It's all good. And we